Court reporters hold one of the most important roles in the justice system. We're entrusted with the official records of the courts, and we also have to run our own businesses, which is not something most of us were prepared for. I'm Bryn Seymour, freelance court reporter and life coach, and I invite you to join the discussion about the problems we face and the solutions we create on the unique journey of a stenographer.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Court Reporter Podcast.
Hi everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Stenograph's training program manager, Cindi Lynch. She has trained thousands of reporting industry professionals and students on a variety of CAT and other software applications for the past 32 years. Cindi created and maintains the Ascend Training by Stenograph online training community, manages Stenograph's certified independent training agent program, and is the author of the self-study guides and exceptional extras files and documents included with Case Catalyst. So in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit to Cindi, just get to know her as a person, and she's going to share her goals and her ideas and the purpose of Ascend Training by Stenograph. So I'll just share a little bit about my experience with Ascend. I'm looking at the website right now. It's stenograph.com/ascend. That's ASCEND. And it starts by saying, training at your convenience. Plus, with Ascend Training by Stenograph, you have access to a learning community, expert training combined with your colleagues' real-world experience via a private social network. This is 24/7, on-demand access to a never-ending virtual conference. Ascend will give you the opportunity to learn at your convenience whatever you need to learn whenever you want or need to learn it. So there's a bullet point list of what is offered inside of Ascend. So access via computer, which is like PC or Mac, tablet or phone, so pretty much from anywhere that has internet connection, right? And then monthly, at least one new webinar/video, weekly live Q&A sessions at least 4 times per month, all live events recorded and available for on-demand viewing, weekly tips and tricks article, twice weekly polls/questions to start conversations with colleagues, daily posted commentary and answers to questions, and then every 6 to 8 weeks, an opportunity to attend a premium event where you can earn documentation that you can submit to NCRA for national CEUs, and then access to premium courses where you can watch videos, take a test, and earn documentation that you can submit to NCRA for national CEUs again. So who should join Ascend Training by Stenograph? Everyone is welcome. The only prerequisite to membership is the desire for polite, professional engagement with colleagues who desire to save time and improve efficiency. The content is primarily directed at steno and voice reporters who use Catalyst. So how do I get Ascend Training by Stenograph? Click here to join. So if you go to this website, stenograph.com/ascend, ASCEND, you can scroll down and you'll see the button to join Ascend. And the cost is, if you're a professional, the monthly subscription is $22 a month, or annually you can pay $220 per year. As an associate, which is a scopist, a proofreader, a court reporting instructor, or an office manager, you can get it for $16 a month, or annually for $160. And then as a student, you can get it for $12 a month, or annually for $120 a year. So discounts are available for customers with Edge, which is the current support contract, and customers who are STAR members, which you'll hear Cindi talk about in our interview. Okay, here's what you won't find at Ascend Training by Stenograph: tech support. If something isn't working, you'll need to consult the experts at technical support, and you'll be referred to them for troubleshooting. And then the cons of social media. Ascend's community has strict standards. There will be no ads, no irrelevant content, and no bullying. And then if you keep scrolling down, there are some testimonials, and I read through some of them, and they're all saying that it's pretty much amazing, and they're excited to be here, and that Cindi has put a lot of time and effort into this program. But the one that really stuck out to me the most is at the bottom. It says, in quotes, "Rats, I ended up in court and therefore not able to attend the macro webinar. But wait, it gets better. I don't have to miss the webinar as I can view it later. Ascend is going to be a game changer for those reporters that want to learn anywhere at any time." So that was a quote by Catherine Hermosillo, official reporter and certified independent training agent. So, and I really like that testimonial, or that quote, because that is exactly how I feel. Like, there are so many events and things that the court reporting industry holds that you have to attend at that time only, and you can't get it afterwards. Or maybe you can, but you have to pay a lot of money for it. But I personally like to go by my own schedule, and I always like to plan things ahead of time. And oftentimes I'm not available to join these things because of, like I've talked about before, my priorities and life balance and family and everything. So in order to be able to do things in my own time, this seems like a really great tool for court reporters like me and many other people who want to learn anywhere at any time, as Catherine said in her quote. So I was a member of Ascend for a few months, and, I didn't really utilize it to the best of my ability. I should have carved out more time per week, but I ended up canceling because I wasn't really putting the time into it, and I wasn't getting much out of it not because of the program, but because of me. So as with any program, you have to be willing to dedicate a certain amount of time to it, and it has to be important enough to you to want to do that. And that's another topic for a separate episode that I can talk about when it comes to the things that we really want to do, but do we really prioritize it? Do we really truly want to do it? Even though we say we want to do it, I'm talking, I'm speaking for myself here, but maybe some others can relate. So I say many things specifically within court reporting and up-leveling and growing and becoming the best I can be. I know with my mind that I want to do these things, that I want to put time in to improve, to learn my software, to become an expert, because that little bit of time investment in just, becoming better at using the tools, or at least familiarizing myself with all the tools that they have to offer, it takes time. And at the time that you invest initially to learn these things, it might feel unnecessary. It might feel like a waste of time. But in the end, if you continually persist at doing this little by little, in the long run, it will save you a lot of time, because all these little time-saving features and tips and tricks inside of our softwares, if we don't know about them, we don't practice them, and we don't do them, it's really not a good use of our time, because we're doing a bunch of little things manually without knowing that there's a shortcut. So I know that there are so many shortcuts in CaseCat, that's the software that I use, and I'm not using them. And I know that there are so many that I don't even know that they exist. And then so I really, with my mind, I know I should put the time in, I should do this Ascend training, I should go to these webinars, or at least watch them in my free time. And so that's why I signed up, but I still didn't do it. So I canceled. And so I'm going to address this later on once I feel like for me and many others, it really comes down to kind of coaching, self-coaching, and really understanding, why is it that I'm not doing what I said that I wanted to do? Do I really want to do this? Or is it just something that I need to get my priorities straight? Is this really a priority for me, or is it not? Maybe for some people it's not. Maybe it doesn't fit at the top of the list, or maybe it doesn't fit anywhere on the list. But ultimately, it's going to take some understanding of myself and of the program and of the benefits, and really, maybe hearing some more testimonials, or getting the facts, getting the details of what are the statistics, how much time does it actually save. That's why whenever I call stenograph support, first of all, stenograph support is great. I think they're really helpful. They always shock me with how they're able to answer my questions. But one thing about them is that sometimes you can't get through to them right away. So if you have an emergency and you need them right now, there's going to be some wait time. And so whenever I call them, whenever I'm on hold, there's this music, and then there's also a commercial that they've been playing recently. And the commercial is about Ascend training. And it says something in there about with 20 minutes a day on Ascend, I save, I think it's an hour per job. And so I actually called Stenograph before recording this intro. I called Stenograph hoping to be put on hold so that I could hear that commercial. But they actually answered right away, which is great. I wish they would answer all the time right away. But this time, for the one time that I wanted to hear the commercial, they answered right away. And so I couldn't hear the commercial. But anyway, I really wanted to get that exact quote, because that was a statistic. 20 minutes a day on Ascend saves me X amount of time per job, or per whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I definitely encourage you all to look into Ascend. And if you can get yourself to prioritize this and understand how much time it will save you in the long run, then let's do it. Maybe we should do it together. Maybe we need accountability buddies, or maybe that's just me. I don't know. It's like a human brain thing. I was talking to Joshua this morning in our mentoring session about how even though sometimes I know exactly what I need to do, like he told me that he gave me the instructions of what to do, how to power define from your machine. And I meant to start practicing that so that I could be ready to power define from my machine when I start doing real time, because you can't take your hands off the machine. You have to know how to define it from your machine and things like little things like that. And so he taught me how to do it a few times, but every time he taught me, like I kind of forgot because I didn't put it into practice. I didn't, continually practice it right away. So today it came up again and he said, that's on you. I don't know what I can tell you because I already told you what to do and you're not doing it. So that's on you. And so I really do want to touch on, I really do want to create an episode about why is it that we don't do what we know we need to do and what we already know how to do and what we know we should be doing. Like what is it that holds us back from doing those things? Even though he told me what to do, he instructed me, I had it written down maybe somewhere, but I did not do it. And I'm asking him again. I asked him again for the third time. And so he got a little bit frustrated but I'm also frustrated, with myself. Why is it that I don't do the things that I know I'm supposed to do? Why do I forget? And so that comes down to actually a good way for me to explain, what is life coaching? The difference between life coaching and just mentoring is that life coaching actually gets to the root cause of why you're not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. And so I have not been doing the work on myself, and that's why I'm still not doing the things that I know I should be doing when it comes to stenography and my up-leveling my career and getting into real time. If I really do want to do that, then I should be prioritizing time spent on these things. And so the question is, do I truly want to do it? That's something I really have to consider, and I have to sit down with myself and do a thought download and get all my thoughts out and really weigh the pros and the cons and really decide, do I want to do this? It's a decision that I have to make. I can't keep saying, yes, I'm going to do it. Oh yeah, I know I want to do it, but do I truly want to do it? Because if I really did, then I would have made the effort and made the time to sit down and practice these things on a regular basis. So we'll get back to that in a future episode. But for now, let's talk to Cindi and hear what she has to say about Ascend training and about everything that she has to offer. Welcome, Cindi Lynch. Welcome, Cindi Lynch.
Okay. Hi, Cindi. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And you?
Great. Very excited to talk to you. I think that everybody in the court reporting world knows who you are. I definitely have known who you are for a long time, and I always wanted to meet you. You probably obviously didn't know that, but a few years ago, I attended a STAR conference and I heard you speak, and I had already known who you were, but when I heard you and I saw you, and it was really informative and everything, I was taking notes. I got the printout of all the tips that you gave, and I really wanted to meet you at that time, but I either was too nervous, too afraid to introduce myself, or maybe I just didn't get the chance to. I can't remember which one it was right now, but I am excited that we get the chance to meet now.
Well, I'm delighted. And when you go to those STAR meetings, the wonderful thing about that particular group of people is that you should never feel too shy or too overwhelmed to say hi to absolutely anyone. They are so incredibly welcoming, and they're so delighted to meet everyone, regardless of who you are. So, and I would have been the same. So please, if you ever see me somewhere, just, come and grab me.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's really encouraging. If anybody here doesn't know what STAR stands for, can you tell us?
Yeah, STAR it originally stood for Society of Technological Advancement in Reporting. And now I guess it stands for Stenograph Training Agencies and Reporters. and or stenograph technology agencies and reporters, something like that. But basically, it's the Stenograph Users Group, and it's also, I mean, we're welcoming to everyone. You don't have to be on a Stenograph product, and you don't have to be on a Stenograph CAT system necessarily. You could just be someone who uses one of our writers, or really you can, be in any part of the industry, and STAR will welcome you with open arms, because we're just delighted to have everyone, and we feel that the more communication that you have with everyone, the better off that everyone does. So.
Yeah, totally. So are you a representative of STAR and Stenograph, or are they kind of like hand in hand?
They're kind of hand in hand, but I'm not officially a representative of STAR. It's just something I've been a member through
You're
Stenograph
affiliated.
for
Yeah, okay.
as long as it's been around, and before that with the Baron Users Group and the Stenograph Multi-Users Group. So I've been around for 33 years. So I've been around for a bit.
Wow. Okay. Well, since everyone, like most court reporters, already know who you are in that sense in the professional world, I want to start by asking you just some fun icebreaker questions about
Cool.
you and your personal life. So,
You bet.
what's your favorite food?
Oh, that's hard. Grilled
I
cheese.
know.
Grilled cheese.
With grilled cheese. Wow. Is there a
Mhm.
specific kind of way that you make it, or type of cheese or bread that you like?
I love a nice, nutty, grainy, super grainy bread, and I will butter both the outsides and the insides of the bread. I like cheddar, but maybe Munster or a mix, and I'll salt the outside of the bread.
Ooh, that sounds so good. I'm a fan too. I actually like cheddar and very toasty bread. I like to press them in a panini if possible, or just put them on a pan with butter. That's the best. And the salt, that's a great idea. Oh my gosh,
Well,
I
it
love
always
this
seems
is
to
making me
need
hungry.
just a little bit, so.
Yeah, just a little, because it's already kind of like a salty. Oh, and then to dip it into like a tomato soup or something is
Oh yeah,
awesome.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
Great
so cool that your favorite food is grilled cheese. Who would have guessed?
accompaniment.
And I was also going to ask if you have a favorite animal.
Oh, yeah, that's another tough one. Because I am a huge animal lover. I've got right now just one dog because we just recently lost one, but we have 9 cats. My neighbors
Wow.
have horses and mules and ponies and lots of cows, and I am their nana. So I go by every
Wow.
day, except for today when it's pouring rain, and I'm thrilled that it's raining. But whenever it's not raining, we take a long walk every afternoon, and I go and see all of the animals and feed them carrots, and it's just lovely to
Oh,
see as many animals
that's
as possible.
so
So no, I
nice.
don't have a favorite, but I just love basically anything non-human is good by me. So
So you're an animal lover. I don't know why. I just had the feeling you might be.
well, if you ever see me on Facebook, you'll notice my pictures are almost always either nature or animals, one or the other.
Oh, maybe I saw some of your pictures. I don't know,
Could
but I
be.
had a hunch that you love animals. I think a lot of court reporters like really love the animals and have pets and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's comforting.
Yes, it is. It helps a lot.
What state are you located in?
I am in California. I'm in central California. I'm living about 45 minutes from the south gate of Yosemite National Park. So I'm out in the middle of nowhere, the nearest town is about 5 miles away, and it's called Raymond. And I don't think there's 1,000 people in Raymond. It's a very tiny place. So I telecommute and have been telecommuting for 30 years. So
That's so funny. There's a tiny town called
yeah.
Raymond, near where I just moved from, which was in Maine. It's a
Oh,
tiny little
wow.
town, probably the similar size, like less than 1,000 people, but it's a very beautiful little town in Maine. Opposite sides of the country.
Uh-huh.
So, do you have a goal that you're working on right now that you want to share?
A goal. Well, just basically to grow the Ascend base. I started Ascend back in 2020, right as the pandemic was getting full throated, as it were. And I just started working on it in I guess it was June of 2020. So, the pandemic had, locked us down. And it was in June of that year that we were looking for ways of, how do I do what I do? Because usually the way that I used to work is that I would travel all over the country. And I would do a lot of in-person presentations similar to what you would have seen at STAR. And I did it at state association meetings and national meetings and user groups and all sorts of different, we did regional workshops, but I couldn't do any of that. And we didn't know how long it would be before I could do any of that. And besides, they were looking to cut costs and they wanted to find ways, how do we do this? Could we do it virtually? And the president of Stenograph had come across this nifty platform called Mighty Networks and said, hey, take a look at this and see if you think you could make this work. And so I played with it and said, yeah, I think I might be able to make it work. And as I explored more, I realized, oh my God, this has such potential because we can get all the benefits that we've ever had from meeting in person that we didn't want to actually have. Well, basically, you get all of the pros with none of the cons. Well, almost all of the pros. I mean, it's still better to be in person. I still love seeing people in person, being with them. But if you're going to do things remotely, it seems to me that there's a lot of things that you want to be able to do that you can't necessarily do if you have to pay thousands of dollars to be in person with people. Not everybody can afford that, especially my scopists, especially my students. For my newer reporters who are just getting started, somebody who's, just barely out of school and they're not making six figures yet. And it will be a while before they start making six figures and they're paying back for equipment and for loans and all sorts of things. So and besides, even if you're a full-fledged reporter and you can afford to go to several conferences a year, do you want to spend all of your time sitting in a room learning about cat? Or do you want to spend time hanging out with your friends and drinking? So it's a question of what do you actually want to do? And the thing that really amazed me, and I'm sorry, I'm getting off the topic of goals right now, but
no problem.
The thing that really amazed me was that every time I taught a class in person, people would come up to me and say, oh, that one thing, I got that one thing that I really needed, and that paid for the whole thing. I'm like, it shouldn't have. It shouldn't be just that one thing that you think is going to, I mean, great. If you found something that will save you time, that's terrific. But oh my God, you just spent an hour and a half with me and you only got one thing out of it. And I gave you 27 things. Okay, so there's a problem here. The reason I was giving you 27 things was that I have to stand there and teach you for so long for you to get continuing education credit. So if this is all just about the credit, then what are we really doing? So there has to be a way that I can give you that stuff in a really short amount of time. And so that's what Ascend is enabling me to do, is that I can have someone just come on whenever they need a trainer. So instead of having to hire someone to come and be with them, or instead of having to spend thousands of dollars to fly somewhere and, get up the nice wardrobe and look great, they don't have to worry about what they look like. They can roll up. They don't even have to roll out of bed. They can just turn on their, their phone or their, iPad, and they can just, I want to learn something. They can learn something in 2 minutes and then go use it. And then a week later say, okay, I got that. So now what else can I do? Or they could be in the middle of a job and damn, I have a question and I'm not quite sure how to do this. How do I do this? And I can point them to a video that'll teach them. Or I can say, hey, good question. Here's an answer. Or look it up and get them an answer within, a day. And they didn't have to spend a whole lot of money doing it. So that's what I'm loving about Ascend. It's just enables me to really keep in touch with people far better than I ever could before.
Yeah, I think it's a really amazing what the pandemic has enabled. I mean, what we've always been able to do, but the pandemic kind of allowed us to actually utilize the tools that we have and just start thinking of ways to increase our ability to network without the in-person events. And in the podcast that I just released on January 1st, I talked about how I myself included, I also don't, even though I went to that one STAR conference, that's the only one I've ever been to for that exact purpose of the time investment, the money investment, my commitments outside of work that I have. Like, it's really like a lot to attend one of those things. And then you maybe get one or two little things that
exactly.
In that case, I don't know if there was anything that really stuck with me at that time. It was a great experience. Like the person first, the in-person face-to-face experience is always good, but I think that the pros for virtual kind of outweigh the cons. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
I'm still a big fan of conferences, and I still think that people get an awful lot out of them. I'm not as much a fan of the CEUs, of being required to be in a certain place for a certain amount of time in order to get credit, whether or not you're learning. It doesn't seem to make as much sense to me. But that's beyond my control, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. I will let the people who have other abilities deal with the whole CEU thing. And in the meantime, there are other things that I can give people. And so at a far, far lower cost, I can give them access to this massive library of videos and articles. I write a tip every single week. I have a live Q&A every single week. I have we do polls twice a week. So like your icebreaker questions, I try to do that once a week on Ascend so that everybody has a way of getting to know each other just a little bit better. I think my favorite one so far is potatoes. What are the best kind? And it's amazing how very, very married to those answers everybody was. But also professional questions like, for my officials, I had somebody ask me, how should I be doing voir dire? What should I be writing for that? And I said, well, there's a lot of different ways. I've seen, so many different reporters do it in so many different ways. Let's open this up to the group. And so I put out a poll to the entire group. And I said, how do you handle it, especially if you've got a pool that's like, let's say, over 100 people? How do you deal with it? And of course, we got some answers from California where you're not allowed to use names and you have to have numbers. And there are other places where it's like, I don't try to identify anybody at all. I just use prospective juror and that's it. And there are, it was just so fascinating to see where everybody was coming from and why they did the methods that they did. And I think everyone came away from that realizing, number one, that there was no one best answer. And number two, that whatever they were doing, either there was a better way or they were good, that they were doing things appropriately. And I just love people feeling better about what they do when they come and, see something. So they get polls, they get tips and articles, they get webinars whenever I can do them. I have added a couple of CEU related things to it so that I found that's a great way to bring in members, is that somebody who is still in the CEU frame of mind is saying, oh yes, I need my points, so I'm going to come and well, she'll give me a class for $20, so I'll go ahead and I'll join Ascend for 30 days, which is free, and then I'll go away. It's like, fine, come on. And usually they get sucked in and they stay, so which is great.
So just to pause you for a minute, just in case anyone who's listening doesn't know what Ascend is,
oh my gosh,
introduce it? Yeah, tell us what it is.
Okay, so Ascend Training by Stenograph is an online website. It's a combination of a library of files, a community sort of like this one, where you can get together with other Stenograph product users, and specifically for steno and voice reporters. Those are the only communities that I serve. So it is anybody using Catalyst Professional, Catalyst Edit, Catalyst Student, VP, which is the voice product, or Catalyst BCS, which is the product which is used by CART and captioners. CART providers and captioners. It is also for Luminex for the writers. And basically, I do a little bit of Windows, a little bit of hardware stuff, just, as it relates to the Stenograph products. And if you'd like, I can show it to you. If you'd like me to share the screen, I could go ahead and give you a quick glimpse.
I'm familiar with it myself, but since this is going to be mostly an audio podcast.
Then it wouldn't help that much, so never mind.
I want it to be as easy to understand just audibly, is that, or audibly?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll just tell the listeners then that if you wanted to check it out, it's ascend.stenograph.com. And when you get to that particular website, it's just HTTPS, it's no www first. So ascend.stenograph.com. If you pop by, give it 1 second to kind of settle itself, because it'll jump around and then it'll give you a screen in the middle that says continue. Click the continue button and that'll take you through a questionnaire and make sure that you're getting the lowest possible price if you decide to subscribe.
And it's $20 a month, right?
Depends on who you are. For a professional reporter, captioner, cart provider, yes, it's $20 a month, unless you're a star member. If you are a star member, then it's half that price. So all of my star members get 50% off. Now, if you're a scopist, you can't afford that because I'm sorry, no matter how great you are and how busy you are, you're not making that kind of money. So, and you don't use quite as much of the site because you're only using this stuff about editing and job management. You're not learning about translation and about not so much about dictionary management, et cetera. So because they get slightly less value out of it, I also cut down the price. So for a scopist, proofreader, court reporting instructor, anybody who would be like at an associate level of court reporting, we do a special membership for them, which is only you can either do $14 a month or $140 a year. So, and the same is true with the professional. It's $20 a month or $200 a year, and it's up to you whether you want to go monthly or annually. So it gets a little bit cheaper if you go annual, but you can also stop anytime you want to if you're doing monthly. So you decide. Yeah, and then for student level, it's $10 a month or $100 for a full year. Again, unless you're a star member, in which case it's only $5 a month or maybe $50 for the whole year.
Yeah, and to learn those little tips and tricks where you can save so much time, it's really valuable to, bring the in-person conferences kind of to an online community. And it's a place where people can just bring their questions and they have access to you directly to get an answer and kind of communicate with each other as well. So is there a certain tip or trick that you find the most people mention is the most helpful, or the one thing that's like, if I had only known this, I would have saved so much time? Is there anything that comes to mind? I mean, I'm sure there are so many, but
there are a ton. One of the ones that just really sticks out in my mind is something that a longtime star member, I think she's a past president too, Susie Ingram, who is also a liaison committee member. She's one of the people who is, way up there in the echelon of Catalyst users. And she actually has input to the engineers as to what new features should be, et cetera. She somehow missed or never got that well, here's my favorite. And Susie said, in 2 minutes, I found a tip that saved me 30 minutes per job. So that's how big this particular feature was. And it was simply that there's a pane in Catalyst called hotspots. And you can set up your hotspots so that you can see all of your untranslates. So if you're doing a real-time rough draft and you just want to clean up all your untranslates, you don't have to scan to them. All you have to do is open that pane and you can see all of your untranslates and you can double click them and boom, you're on that spot and you can read the context and you can fix them. And when you're done because you've gone through them in the pane and they disappear as you fix them. But that way you're skipping over everything else that you couldn't care less about at the moment because that's not important in the rough. It just focuses your attention on that one thing that you're trying to get done. And she said, oh my gosh, it's just so much easier and so much better now. So that was one. But yes, there are hundreds of others that people have really gone berserk over and really loved. So
that sounds like a great feature. I didn't know about that either.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Like, which one do you think saves you the most time? Or do you regularly use it?
I don't have to actually use Catalyst to do anything but train. I am not a reporter myself. I am a second generation trainer. My mom was a trainer before me. So I have been in and around court reporting since 1974. I learned steno theory when there was no such thing as long vowels. So I've been around way long in this industry, but I've never actually been a writer. And in fact, you asked about goals before. My New Year's resolution is that I'm going to practice every day until my demonstration writing skills are much better because I write so poorly. I never learned to write. I learned how to read steno like a scopist would. And although I have played the scopist role in the past, I've had a couple of jobs as a scopist. I think probably the best feature that if I were regularly doing it, my favorite feature would be undo global, because when I make a horrible mistake, knowing that I could just undo it as opposed to and not worry about it having gone into the reporter's dictionary, that would make me, the happiest because I've made those mistakes in the past.
What's the keyboard shortcut for undo global?
Control Shift U is for undo the last global. And if you just want to undo a particular global, there is no keyboard shortcut pre-assigned. It's you point to the global that you want to, just right click and choose undo global. Or if you want a keyboard shortcut, you can assign one. So.
Okay, cool. And that would be through macros?
No, that's just through your keyboard map. You can just open up your keyboard map, find any available key that you want, pick it, double click it, assign a key.
Yeah. Sorry, some of my questions are a little bit dumb. It's because I'm
really totally
slow with technology. I mean, not with technology in general, but with there's so much to learn in K-Stat, which is amazing, but it's also a little bit overwhelming. So I tend to kind of just forget the little things a lot of the time.
We all do.
Just maybe do it the long way.
We all do. No one remembers it all. I mean, I've been doing this, like I said, for 33 years. And there's stuff I forget all the time. Suddenly someone will ask me a question. I'm like, oh, can you do that? Oh, yes, of course you can do that. There's this feature for that. So there's no way for you to remember it all. The more you use, the more that you do, the more that you actually remember, because it becomes just muscle memory, the same way writing became muscle memory for everybody who writes on a writer. And the more that, if you were a voice reporter, the more that, certain voice briefs that you come up with just become absolutely automatic. So it's just a matter of using the things that you need. And I think perhaps the biggest thing that I teach people to do is to embrace getting annoyed. When you're annoyed, it means that you need a shortcut for something. If it's taking too long and it bothers you that you're pressing 2 keys or 3 keys or 12 keys, it should hit you that, oh, wait, there's probably a shortcut for this. Let me go ask. And once you ask the question and get the answer, and oh my gosh, it's so much nicer to do that task now because it's 1 key. And then you forget it. It's just part of your muscle memory, and you forget that it was even ever a problem for you.
I love how you use that. Paying attention to your emotions. If you feel annoyed at something, it's because there must be a solution to it. And that's part of the thing I teach as a life coach is to pay attention to your emotions, because there is something that you can learn from it. So when you feel annoyed about having to spend like up to a minute every single time something happens, which adds a lot of time when it happens a lot, then there's a solution.
A shortcut. There's probably a way to make that less painful and less annoying, and you might as well ask. There's never harm in asking a question.
Yep. And it's important to be able to just stop and take a deep breath and just like take some time, invest some time into finding the solution, because when we're feeling annoyed, normally what we do is not productive, but we just get more annoyed, and it just kind of becomes like a bigger issue.
It becomes resentment, and it becomes blame, and it's like, oh, this stupid software. Yeah. And I totally get it, because you're not getting paid for that time. I had a wonderful interview with Mike Miller. I don't know if you're familiar with Mike, but who is AKA the Depot Man.
No, I might can't remember.
he is very big in Star too, but Mike is just a fabulous speaker. If you ever get the opportunity to listen to him, by all means do. I had the wonderful opportunity to sit down with him for an hour, and he talked about how he names files and how he organizes his files and why he does it this particular way. And as we were talking about, various other things, he said, here's the problem. You don't get paid for anything except, please state your name for the record, through, that's no further questions. That's when you're getting paid, is in between those 2 moments. Everything else which takes place outside of that is stuff that's on you. So you want to spend as little time not between those 2 moments as you can. So that's what I see as my job, is eliminating as much of that time as I can, so that you make more money, and that you're happier, and that you actually get to do something. I know we've all forgotten what it is. It's called having a life outside of your job, which is really the reason that we work. It's not because we love to work. You should enjoy your job by all means, but you should have a life outside of it. It's important.
Yes, that's the whole purpose of getting it, especially for freelancers. Like, we want to have, the reason we do freelance is for the freedom, the flexibility, to spend time with our families and do what's really like have a life, like you said.
Exactly.
And I'm a little surprised. Not really. I guess it makes sense that you're not like you're not a working reporter, which is actually good news, because if you were, then who would be doing what you do? We would all be spending a lot more time transcribing, and your role is so important. I wanted to, sorry, just
I was
wanted
just going to say, this takes me about 14 hours a day. So
it's impossible. Like I always talk about constraint and how important it is, because it's, when you're doing too many things, it's impossible to have a life or to feel okay. Like you're going to be always overwhelmed, and your position, what you're doing, is so important for court reporters. And I noticed that whenever I call stenograph, which is pretty often, because like I said, I forget all the time because I'm not the one that usually scopes actually, I never do any of my own scoping anymore, which is something they warned us against in school. They were always like, you should always scope, because you're going to lose
when
the
you're
skill
getting
of scoping if you stop.
I'll tell you something. When you start, yes, absolutely, because you should know your own writing. But eventually, no. It's great if you can hire, if you've got someone you can trust and you've got a good working relationship with them, absolutely you want to take advantage of their skills, because you make more money, period.
Yes.
Because you can make more money being out there taking work than you can sitting and editing. So no, I have no problem with people using Scopus, so long as they know how to use the Scopus and do it well.
Right. Yeah. It's important to know how to do it first and then you outsource it. But I've done the math with how much money you can make, like taking more jobs versus scoping, and the hourly rate for actually taking a deposition is like more than twice the amount of what you make as a scopist. I mean, as a reporter doing your own scoping, it's like a lot more hours than income. So definitely agree with that. But what I was going to say is that whenever I call stenograph, it's always it's a pleasant, they just always really know exactly what, like the question that I have or the issue that I'm dealing with. Sometimes I think that it's such a big deal and that there's no solution and that this is the end of the world. But then they find the solution so quickly. So it's really good. Like I always think like, wow, they must have a really good training team. And I even wanted to be an employee of CaseCat so that I could learn the way that they learn and be experts like they are, so that I could save as much time as possible. But obviously that didn't I tried, but that didn't work. But yeah, it's because you're the one that trains them, so you're giving them great training, and it looks, I mean, they're doing great. So
I'm actually not the one that trains them anymore. I have trained several of their trainers, so they know they have in-house trainers just for support now who just deal with that. No, I am totally dedicated to you guys now. I do very little in-house training. I am just, my 14 hours a day are dedicated to the customers.
But there is a department there, so it's like passed down. So thank you for everything that you do for all of us reporters. It's so helpful and great and amazing. And I know that someone posted in the comments, although it only came to me for some reason, but she said, Nancy Silberger said, love Cindi and love Ascend. So that's one comment we got so far.
I love Nancy too. I have loved her for a long time.
And by the way, Nancy and Brooke, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in, type it in the chat, or come on camera and ask your questions if you want to. Oh, hi, Nancy. So
I'm just getting off the train, so I have to go. But I want to say hi to Cindi.
Always good to see you, Nancy.
Bye.
And by the way, Brooke, that outfit is fabulous. If that picture is anywhere near what you look like today, oh my God.
Oh, gorgeous. Thanks so much. I worked for the FCRA conference, so I went all out. I actually do have a note, Brand, if I can interrupt you.
Sure. Yeah, and that is exactly what she looks like on camera too. So yeah, go ahead, Brooke.
Nice to meet you, Cindi, and thank you, Bryn, for holding this. Cindi, I'm having a beast of a time with indexing, so I don't have to, put right now what I have to do is go through my transcript, figure out what the exhibit is, scroll back up, put the exhibit description and number in there. I've tried Ascend, I've tried Stenographed, I've tried Praying, and I cannot figure it out. Can you please direct me to some source, or maybe like, what am I doing wrong?
Okay. First of all, tell me, are you an official or a freelancer?
Freelance.
Freelance. Okay. And what state?
Florida.
Georgia? Oh, I'm sorry, Florida. Florida's not that tough. It should be really easy for you, unless you're working for someone that's absolutely demanding that you have really extensive descriptions. What are they requiring you to do? Because as far as I know, Florida doesn't have a really strict requirement as to how detailed those descriptions need to be.
No, it's actually really laid back. You're right. But the question I had was really more setting up the template to make it easy.
Oh, yeah. No.
And I
It
can't.
is. It is incredibly simple. What I'll tell you to do is, if you find that passive learning, by listening to someone, I've got the courses on Ascend, but if that's not working for you, call Robin. Robin Merker is the Florida training agent, and she can work with you. If for any reason Robin is not available to you, and you can find her information if you go to our website to the training section, you'll find Catalyst Independent Training Agents, and she can work with you one-on-one to help you, come up with the template so that you can see how to do all this stuff, and she can work with you one-on-one if that's what you're looking for. It's really not that tough once you've got the basic concept down. In terms of general information for everyone with regard to indexing, yeah, that's the number one task that I find most people need to master. Anybody who is still just reading through their transcript and making notes for themselves about what page something is on, and or writing down descriptions and then retyping them in, that's just a massive waste of your time. It should simply be really simply, you set up an exhibit description file with index on and off symbols around the place where your description will be. If they're not shown in the job, then it should just be inside a hidden text that you can just include in, or just pop in through an easy text or something like that. Examinations through your easy speakers, or however you define your examinations, they should simply have an on symbol before the type of examination it is, and off symbol after the person's name or the placeholder for the person's name. It should be that simple where you can just literally, you do your job. You don't even pay attention to most of this, except for maybe, okay, when the descriptions aren't a part of the parenthetical and you actually have to type them in, maybe seeking those out and actually having to copy paste. There shouldn't be that much of that, though, especially if it's a very simple description. If you're not going for, I've seen some exhibit descriptions which go on for like, a paragraph and a half, and it's like, trust me, these guys aren't reading it. They don't care. And if it's not mandated, you shouldn't waste your time doing it. But again, if it's required, you do whatever is required. But once you've got that basic concept down of it, simply put the on symbol here, the off symbol here, and you've got a template that says, oh, well, the on symbol goes here, and it will generate a series of columns in this table that will just tell it what was the exhibit number, what was the description, what was the page number that it was on, and that it's dynamic, that it will move with it, so that if you edit and you change where things actually show up, the index changes with you. So it's something that it's worth taking, a couple of hours to just get that down and move on. And so there's a couple of ways to do it on Ascend. One is there's just the courses themselves, which I've put in the videos and webinars section that come with handouts, and they're a little bit better, I think, than what I originally put in the software, which is the automatic indexing self-study guide, which gets you started, but it can be a little bit dense. I totally get that, because they asked me to put everything in one document that I could, just hand to everyone. So it's more like a help file than it is really a teaching method. And so I think that the webinars in Ascend are a little bit better. The other thing is that if somebody needs to take that information and they also need to earn credit, I actually have put it into an online course. It's called a premium course. And so for $50, you can go through those same webinars, but also get 0.375 CEUs for them, because you take a test at the end of it, and you can get, you can answer, a bunch of multiple choice questions. And if you get 70% or better, then NCRA is cool with you earning points for having watched those 3 videos. So
you've been more than helpful. Thank you so much.
Good.
It's been, I'm telling you, I'm spending like so many hours just putting in like all 50 of their exhibits.
Oh,
and that's day one.
If you want to put a 50 exhibit job should take about half a second to generate an index. It literally should just be, boom, you hit one key, and my one key is build index, and just enter, and boom, it should be done. You shouldn't have to think about it at all. So it's just, a couple hours up front to invest the time in just creating the index as you want it. And if I'm okay, now I'm noticing that in your signature on Zoom that it says Lexitas. They should have a file for you that you can use.
We were FIPS and now we're Lexitas. So we're,
okay.
Yeah. And I reached out to a FIPS reporter and I didn't understand her template. And
okay. All righty. Well, again, if you're on Ascend, just come and grab me with a question and I'll be more than happy to answer. Otherwise, if you want some one-on-one help and just, someone who can just literally go with you one-on-one, I'd say contact Robin. She's your local certified independent training agent, and I know she would be great with you.
And I can find her on Ascend info?
You can find her in just Stenograph's training page.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Cindi. You've saved my life, literally.
Not a problem. We will figure it out, and we'll make sure that you get there.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you asked that question, Brooke. That was great for everyone to hear that live example. And I'm glad that our schools, actually in school, they taught us the automatic indexing, and I always thought I can't imagine ever doing this manually, but it's such an easy thing to just kind of forget how to do, even though it's so simple.
Once you've built it up once, you shouldn't have to think about it again unless you change jobs and they're doing things considerably differently. I mean, it's a big difference going from freelance to official. Officials, sometimes the rules from various states can be really nasty in terms of exactly how things must be. And I've always said it would be really great if I could just get all the people who are decision makers for all of the courts in all of the country. And that's just the US. I'm not even talking about outside the country, but in the US, I'd just like to get them all together, me and my baseball bat, and explain to them, okay, guys, here's how it's going to work. This is the format everybody's going to use from now on. Okay? Because that way nobody would have any questions. Everybody would hit one button and they'd all be done. It would save so much man hours. But no, everybody's is a little different. Go to the state of New York. They have about 72 different ways of doing it.
Right. I'm in the state of New York, so that's why I say I actually kind of did come to a point where I stopped doing the automatic indexing because there were too many different formats and things that I was using. So like you said, it's funny you say that you wish you could get all the leaders of the courts and everyone together to just, and I feel there really should be some kind of a regulation of the court industry or of the legal industry.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Or legal, maybe I should call it legal support industry, because there's so many things that we are just all doing different things, and it's very confusing when you are freelancing and always having to adjust and change things and not be able to stick to a process.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Hopefully one day
I'm a cog in a very large machine, and I tend to be squeaky whenever I can, just to get the message out that, hey, there's a better way and a smarter way to do things. But there's only so much you can do sometimes.
There's a better way and a smarter way. There's always, that's such a good quote. We should totally take that piece and broadcast it everywhere.
Be my guest.
So anything else that you want to share about Ascend or about yourself or about anything that we've talked about or anything else?
Gosh, I don't know. I guess the only other thing I would add is that I know there's a lot of fear out there right now, and there's no need for it. The jobs are plentiful. No one is coming after you. There's so much good work out there, and the people who want to do good work are being rewarded for that good work. And there's so much that you can pick and choose what you want, which is really nice. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, I've been around for a long, long time, and I've seen things go up and down and up and down and up and down. And everybody would always talk about the industry as though it were feast or famine. And now it's just been feast nonstop for so long. I haven't seen famine in a long, long time. And I used to look forward to the famines because people come racing to me like, okay, I don't have that much work, so I have plenty of time to learn now. It's like, but now I just have to kind of work with you while you feast. So that's what Ascend is built to do. Wow. But yeah, I would say, don't worry, you've got this. And no matter what methods come up to try to compete with you, you're the best. and you remain the best, and people will be, dying to have you. All you have to do is just, keep working and
That's right.
not worry. We're there.
That's right. Steno is amazing. So it'll always be in high demand, right? I mean,
Yep.
there is a shortage nationwide. And so now is the best time to get into it, or to get more into it if you're already into it.
Absolutely. And there are people there to support you. There's a lot of people out here who are working really hard. I have a lot of great colleagues who are all there. And this is what we do, is we make sure that you can do what you need to do.
Well, thank you so much, Cindi. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And I'm sure everybody has gained some valuable insight from this. So yeah, have a great rest of your evening in California. Hope it's beautiful out there. And
It is pouring. It is absolutely pouring. We're getting 2.5 inches right now of rain, and I'm thrilled. So
oh my gosh. Well, it's clear over here in New York. So that's one good thing about New York right now, I guess.
Okay.
But hey, rain is good too. We all need it. We need it all.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
To all the podcast listeners, this podcast is growing, and I want to offer you an amazing opportunity to be a part of the team. Managing a podcast is kind of like freelance court reporting. There are a lot of small pieces to manage, and if you know me, you know I'm all about delegation and working together. Because you know what they say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So if you're interested in helping out with things like transcription, show notes, copywriting, marketing, engagement, head over to courtreporterconnection.com and navigate to opportunities, and then you can apply there.